He talks about he has a grabby aliens theory.
A grabby alien?
Yeah, grabby aliens theory, and what
you
that
talk
is.
to HR?
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. We're back finally. Took a 2-month hiatus to work on some other projects in the studio, but it was just me and Daniel today with our producer Eric and Seth up there on the switcher. So we had a great conversation. It was a lot of fun. Talked about a lot of different topics. And there was much more we wanted to cover we didn't get to because we're 2 months behind. And I think you guys will enjoy it. If you do, be sure to like and subscribe.
You guys, the last episode of TCB was quite a while back.
Like over 2 months ago, right?
Over 2 months ago.
Yeah, we just walked away.
Now, this is a prime example in life of if you do not prioritize things, you have deprioritized them, right? And so, quite literally, we consciously chose not to do this, right? We didn't, but we did.
Well, before Daniel throws us too far into the bus.
Yeah. Let me say I chose.
Sure.
Well, I knew that these guys were working on. We're trying to produce Tom's new show, and also you were doing some stuff with your show and sketches, and plus we have one editor who's great, but it's just one dude.
Only one man, yeah.
So I wasn't too worried about it because I knew that there was work being done.
Still stuff coming out.
His reasons are better than mine. Mine is just like I didn't post on social media really. But
I miss being in here.
I do too.
Doing the show, and also with Daniel and I, on the business side of our lives, it's a time warp.
Yeah.
It's like every day is Monday.
I actually thought we had recorded just a few weeks ago. I was like, man, what's it been, 2 or 3 weeks? It felt like
yesterday.
It was the other week.
Time is strange.
Time is something that we've invented to make sense of all this. Like to me, we're just at a I don't know if it's a linear point. We're just at a different point. We just fast forward. The things that happen between now and then are, you might call them 2 months. It literally is just
subjective.
It's just a series of tasks that took place in between these things.
It's relative.
So I mean, and it's not like we haven't we've intended to do a few, and then it just doesn't happen. Busy.
Yeah.
So the last few weeks, is there anything you guys have? What's been specifically going on, and is there anything that you guys have missed talking about on this thing?
I tore my bicep last week.
Yeah,
I thought it was a tattoo. It looks good.
It looks pretty good, right?
His wife grabbed him really hard.
Yeah, I told him not to talk back.
She told him twice.
Yep.
She hits me occasionally.
It's not
cut that.
It's not just his mother and father.
You know what you did, babe.
Yeah. I know my truth.
No, I was trying to open a gate, and the gate did not open.
So we got to tell everybody this story, right? So the facility here has a gate, right? And the power goes out, and you sent a message you couldn't get in or out. I couldn't remember. And I sent a message, and it said something like, which what I was told is like, well, when the power goes out, it's got an automatic shut off, and you can just manually open the gate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so power goes out. He goes to manually open the gate. Well,
and if anybody's going to manually open the gate, I trust Neil. I vote
Neil,
for Neil. Yeah.
So it didn't work. But then I'm pretty sure one of the smallest guys in the building came out and opened it later. But what we think had happened, we'll see what happened was.
It powered on.
It powered on when he was trying to do it.
Just give you that resistance.
So it relocked in place. You're not going to open it.
Because it didn't move at all. I mean, I put all my weight into it. And
6,000 pounds. It's 6,000 pounds per square inch to open it.
The power had to
if it's
be
on, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
So
I believe it.
So 6,000 pounds per square inch to open it, or something like that, to open it if it's on. So he's not moving it, and then it powers back down, and our other guy comes out and just opens it right up.
And I've opened the gate before, so I know what to expect.
Neil's arms hanging, he sees him open, he's like, God damn it.
And this is the same guy that years ago, about 12 years ago, that Neil looked at and went, look at my abs and look at yours.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So what he should have done was look at these biceps and look at yours, Neil. He just didn't think. He's not quick-witted with it.
I remember Neil saying that to me. That was a weird day.
What are you, like 8?
Oh, damn it. That's funny.
But no, we just
been busy, man. There's been real estate deals and new deals. I probably shouldn't talk about it. There's
snapping necks, cashing checks.
Yeah, trying. There's some really interesting stuff that could happen I can't talk about yet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on
You
the
bought
next
the moon.
episode.
Yeah.
No,
On the next episode, we'll talk about
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It'd be very interesting if it happens. There's some stuff that could affect the studio,
it. Okay.
which would be really funny. But
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're part of Discovery Plus now, HBO Max.
Yeah.
They got us
It's
too.
it's a nice tease, as we call it in the business.
Yeah.
I love a good tease.
Yeah.
That's why I'm married.
You had. I know you've missed doing this. What's a thing you've missed talking about, man? That you've been excited about that you haven't been able to.
Oh, the hopper's full, man.
Harvest full, yeah.
It's hard to.
Hard to choose just one.
I did want to talk about some nonsense today, though.
Nonsense is fun.
It's
Sounds
really
fun.
not nonsense, but it seems
Is
nonsensical.
this on Eric's do not discuss list?
It probably is. It's all right.
It's not heavy stuff. So.
Moratorium on the creative businessmen. Everything's open on the.
I think it's on Daniel's do not discuss list. Wanted to talk about UFOs and aliens.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I had
Let's do
a
it.
thought on this
do it. Yeah, let's hear it.
like 2 weeks ago. You know, somebody brought it up. It might have been you.
I was
it-
talking to you about it.
Yeah, it was just like all of the people we called crazy over the last 40 years. Oh, I got abducted, or I believe in aliens, and we would point at it and be like, "You fucking piece of shit, dummy!" And and then it comes out that UFOs. The White House is like, "Yeah, UFOs are real,"
Right.
and nobody is apologizing to those people. Nobody's going around and be like, "We're sorry, we mistreated you for 40 years. You might have been right." And meanwhile, they're just still crazy people.
There will
Well,
be
some of those are a lot of those are crazy people, but a few of the ones that
Well, I mean, if you were abducted by an alien, wouldn't you become a crazy person?
I think
Yeah.
that would
If an
probably
alien
have that effect.
probed your asshole
I think if
you
anybody
already
probed your
were
asshole,
crazy.
in
Yeah.
the 70s or 80s, you got probed, and nobody believed you for 40 years, you'd probably be crazy.
That sounds like a
I think
lawyer
if-
commercial.
I think if
Were you
anything-
abducted?
Were you abducted?
I think if anything probed my asshole, I just wouldn't talk about it. I talked to a therapist.
see something, say something.
Yeah.
But,
Neil, that's where it starts, man. You got to speak about it.
But-
So what brings it up? What was the thing? Was there a thing in the news that made you?
No, it was, during the pandemic in 2020, the Pentagon came out,
Yeah.
or the New York Times came out and said the Pentagon had corroborated information about UFOs, and then a lot of reliable, reputable people came out and started discussing their experiences, people from the Navy pilots and stuff
It's
like
not
that.
really being talked about still.
Well,
It's starting to be, but
recently they released a bunch of documents. The Pentagon released documents, and because the legislature passed a bill or something making them, declassify a lot of this information. And
are these like the Trump declassified documents that you think got seized, or
no, this is
you think there's aliens in his closet?
that would be funny, but
Yeah.
but no, it was
I'm fine with that if that's what they found.
Yeah.
You know what I
Me
mean?
too.
I'd be pretty happy if
That'd be
that
hilarious.
whole thing comes back and they're like, it's just some alien stuff.
Yeah.
Trump
Wouldn't
with
that-
ET. That'd
Yeah,
be great.
wouldn't that be awesome?
Run ET.
What if his wife was alien, and he was hiding? It was a cover up. It's a conspiracy.
but aside from all the conspiracy stuff, they've released these documents and all this footage, and you have mainstream physicists coming on to different shows and talking about it, and they're all saying like, hey, these objects are they defy the physics as we understand it. There's no sign of propulsion, and they move unlike anything that we have technological capability of creating, likely. And then you think, well, if it belongs to someone else or even us, we'd probably be using it against other people, or they'd be using it against us. So it's not likely that it belongs to any country. So people should really be concerned about it, and nobody cares. And then then a few weeks ago, senior engineer at Google came out and said that he felt like Google's AI had become sentient, which is also another huge issue, and nobody really cares about that either. So it's really interesting that these are potentially life-altering anomalies that people aren't really concerned about, and I think that probably is probably reflective of maybe our society is in kind of a rough spot right now. Like we're not that healthy, and so people aren't worried about things they can't control.
Right.
But
Why should people, when it comes to that technology, the spacecraft, all of that, what is the specific concern as you see it?
Well, my concern with the spacecraft would be, so far, all the objects they've seen are just, they're either just hovering over the water for days sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll just blast off, and they can cover incredible distances in very short periods of time. And they're also dropping in from space, from the radars, I think, scan up to 80,000 feet, and they'll come on the radar and then drop from 80,000 feet to sea level in like a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And then they
unbelievable
go
speed.
under the water.
And then go under the water too. So these things can be, I can't remember the term for it, but they're dual. They can operate in air or underwater.
Right.
And we don't have anything that can do that. And but
Ducks.
my concern about it would be, it almost seems like surveillance technology. Like these things are just, and they're always around our military, which is interesting. They're usually in military training areas and stuff like that. So, or around nuclear facilities.
So where are you? Where are these stories and all that? Because I've not heard of
So
it.
there's a lot of sightings up in like Virginia, like Norfolk area, out in the coast, and then out in California also.
Who's
I think
reporting
San
it?
Diego, the military,
Okay.
Navy, pilots and ships, and there's different objects. But the most interesting object that I've seen reported on is it's like they all describe it as a cube or cubes. They're these translucent cubes with glowing spheres in the middle of them.
Right.
And
That's some real trippy shit.
yeah, that's weird. And but my thought is it may be some super advanced civilization. It's not really just my thought. There's a scientist, Robin Hansen, who's done a lot of research on.
He's one of the Hanson brothers.
But he's
the fourth one.
Yeah.
But he's put a lot of thought and research and done a lot of research on extraterrestrial life and what it would look like and how it would and just life here too. He's like a math genius.
Gotcha.
and he said you can look at life on Earth, and it's gone through about 6 phases of really difficult obstacles to overcome to reach consciousness or sentience on our level.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, you can take all the data that we have and you can use that to determine where life is at in the universe, most likely, and also where we're going to be in the future. And then you also have exponential growth. So where we're at today, it took 4.5 billion years to reach our level of consciousness and technological advancement. But maybe the next 6 hard steps are, since technology is exponential, maybe that happens in the next 100 years.
So
And-
with that stuff, when those things are being reported, so if we're saying it's the government reporting it, then I have questions. So
Well, it's not just the government reporting; it's
Okay.
also individuals.
individuals are
But-
reporting
but
these things, and
but
what is
pilots-
proof, and what are reports, what are proof, and is it possible that some of this could be misinformation? Not that that's what I believe, but so with that,
I mean, it could be our technology, and because there's different layers of security, and obviously the deepest layers of security. I mean, even some of the top politicians don't have access to that.
right.
Except for Nancy.
Yeah. Well, only if you can
Nancy
make money
Grace.
on it, but.
Well, she invested in the
So
technology.
the government's very compartmentalized, and so there could be some part of our government that has created or developed some type of technology that can manipulate gravity or
Right.
something, or just has a type of propulsion that we're not familiar with or we don't understand, or most people don't. But when I see physicists talking about it, like reputable physicists talking about it and discussing it openly, it's really interesting, and people like Robin Hansen. He thinks that these things may be like scouting devices.
What do you
surveillance
believe?
devices.
What's your best theory?
That seems like a good one, because I mean I thought of that too before I heard him say it, and I thought, well, they don't have what they're not attacking anything, and they're not and they're sort of they're being so they're not being completely secretive. They are being seen,
Right.
and but
with that level of technology, if you were trying to hide, you could.
yeah, and I think I think also if these things are extraterrestrial, they're from another civilization, light years away or something, some other star system, maybe in our galaxy, maybe beyond. They're probably already some what we call artificial intelligent life. They're technological life probably, and the machine itself may actually have a consciousness. It may, whatever the beings are that are controlling these things, I would imagine that they could probably put their consciousness in anything, so the vehicles themselves may actually be conscious agents. And if they have the capabilities of traveling those distances to come here and view us and scout, then, if they wanted to destroy us, I'm sure they could instantly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, so
could just be interstellar water delivery.
Yeah.
Just
well,
replenishing our supply.
Robin Hansen's hypothesis is that maybe because he talks about, he has a grabby aliens theory.
A grabby alien?
Yeah, grabby aliens theory. And what
you
that
talk
is.
to HR?
Yeah. But the thought behind the grabby aliens theory is that as civilizations reach this singularity and this exponential growth, and they start to be able to spread out beyond their planet, and they'll eventually reach a technological level where they can rapidly expand, and likely a civilization could reach a level where it could expand even at light speed. And if that were the case, then if they were expanding toward us, this is the Fermi paradox. Is like, well, if there's life out there, where is it? Does all intelligent life eventually destroy itself and never expands? Or if these civilizations are expanding out at light speed, they've reached so much momentum in their growth, they're expanding at light speed. You wouldn't see them until they're on top of you and they just absorb you, or you just merge with them or whatever. But there would be a chance that they would send out scouts before that happens. Or also, what could be happening is that these other more advanced civilizations, because there are a lot of star systems out there that are way older than ours, and the universe is 14, 15 billion years old, so at least 3 times the age of our planet. And maybe some of these civilizations decided they didn't want to expand out like that. They wanted to maybe expand in a more, I guess, less aggressive way, and maybe, they've developed, because I think at a certain level of technology, you don't have biological restraints anymore, and you don't feel pain, you don't feel. I mean, you have emotions probably that we can't even imagine, but you wouldn't have physical restrictions or physical limitations. And so maybe they've just realized, like, we don't have to absorb everything. We can just live really great lives, and they basically live this incredible utopian existence. And maybe they're coming here to observe us because they're like, oh, it's
like a vacation.
These monkeys are about to figure out how to do some of this stuff,
Yeah.
and we want to keep them from expanding and absorbing the whole universe.
Because we're bad monkeys.
Yeah, well,
we like to fucking consume everything.
yeah. So maybe they're going to warn us and say, hey, slow it down, or you can do these things. This we'll give you the blueprints for the technology,
the cliff notes,
to make this thing happen, and you can be an ally with us. And we'll keep you from destroying everything or whatever.
What are your thoughts on all of this, Dan?
So, have you seen and heard of the the tribes? There's still some that there's been virtually no human interaction with in the United States or in the world. I kind of feel like if it is that, then they're treating us like those tribes, right? Like, imagine the stories that you've grown up generation after generation after generation, and you've never seen a plane, and then the first helicopter that comes over and people get out of. Like, how do you explain that, right? Technology that
is beyond
their comprehension, right? And I feel like if there is something to it, then it's that we are the indigenous people that the technology is currently unexplainable to us, right? Yep. It doesn't mean that the technology is not real, although in the moment it seems impossible, right? So I feel like that's the way I look at it. I have said before on our podcast, and this has nothing to do with business at all, but I have said before that I almost feel like we've done this before, like this planet has done this before. And, you know, if you think about something, look in some of the countries where they're literally building these things that are net neutral carbon-wise, and that you can live in a vertical space and take up virtually no space in their building. And I'm trying to remember their ad.
Oh yeah. That thing in the desert.
Yeah,
In the Middle East.
It's a multi-trillion.
Well, they're not building it yet. It's
Yeah.
my brain, my mouth, like my vocabulary is not connected to my brain.
But let's imagine that technology is we're getting to a net zero. We're carbon neutral, where everything's going to be able to be broken down. All technology is going digital. There's not, the pen and the pad in another, 20 or 30 years was not going to exist. So if everything is digital and everything is biodegradable and everything has the ability to break down, and we minimize our impact and we minimize our visible presence, and all of our spaces become, there's a whole thing about this right now where all the spaces, getting back to nature, getting back to this, so living with nature without being so destructive towards it, then what does it take for a reset to take place, and how many generations would it take, right, for us to think that this could have already, all the technology, all the accomplishments, everything that we've already done, we might have already been here and then just self-destructed.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Well, because Homo sapiens have been on Earth for over 300,000 years.
Yeah, so then there's the pyramids. And
That's
there's
a
all
long time for us, but it's in the history of the planet, it's
No
just
time.
a blip, right?
But it is. But also, it's only taken us 10,000 years to get where we are today.
Yeah.
So this is I hate. It's just so silly for me, but it's. If we look at the idea, not that this stuff is silly. The thing I'm about to say, I don't know how to say it, and it sounds silly, just even the thought. But if we think about all of this technology and these instances of these reports of seeing these things in the water and space, blah, blah, blah. If we can think that we can't understand this technology, what are the odds? If everything is exponential, then it is just something from the future. You know what I mean? Like if everything is exponential, we have figured that out eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now is the time it starts showing. It's
Well,
wild, man.
Robin Hanson said he thinks that likely life will eventually take up the whole universe. And I think I've heard other scientists talking about that too. You used to hear a lot about entropy, because entropy is a fundamental part of our reality. Like everything goes to zero, like everything falls apart.
What's the
universe
definition of entropy? What is?
I don't know the exact definition, but it's like the dismantling of reality, I guess. I don't know. It's everything going to zero.
Entropy, a thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal. That's a lack of order or predictability.
Yeah, it's like the
Gradual
falling
decline
apart
into
of everything.
disorder. Okay.
So the whole universe, it'll eventually expand until everything is so far apart you can't see anything anymore,
Right.
and everything will cool off. It'll just be a heat death.
Okay.
So everything will just be frozen and empty. But what a lot of scientists are thinking now is that we'll actually, as life pops up throughout the universe, it becomes more and more advanced, and it becomes conscious. And once conscious life reaches a certain level, it'll start to expand out and start to merge with other conscious life. And there's a very likely chance that eventually life will just fill the universe and maybe prevent the heat death.
Okay.
Or maybe the heat death happens after that merger of all life. But
It's great. I just had a thought, if we could have this conversation with people in like the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You would be like the alien people. Everybody would be like, you fucking, lunatics. You
there
know?
were some people having these conversations in the 60s. They were just way ahead of their
crazy.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you went back, I can't remember where it was in history where the human race is almost knocked out. You remember that?
Yeah, it was like 70,000 years ago.
All right, so let's go there.
It was a volcano.
Okay.
So let's say we're an advanced society then. The volcano erupts or something happens, wipes out. Virtually, there's thousands of humans left in the world. Okay.
Yeah, there was only, I think, less than 10,000.
So imagine, let's go back to there real quick.
Yeah.
Let's say we're an advanced race,
Yeah.
and there's an argument. Some of us are predicting that it's the end of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get on our spaceships, our advanced technology, and we leave this planet and go somewhere else, right? Long journey. It's a long journey. We have the technology, but it's going to be a multi-generational flight trip that we're going to go to, and we're going to go to another inhabitable planet that we've discovered because this planet is ending.
Or
right?
maybe not even need a planet. You know,
Right, maybe.
eventually
right?
you won't.
But they leave. Some stay behind. Maybe the ones that stayed behind, and then the volcano happens. It wipes out everything, right? All the technology, it wipes out. So it's like a full reset. And then we are products of that today. Every human alive today is a product of those few thousand people. That's why we can trace our origins back to Africa, right? Everybody, right? And you can see migration patterns. Like my bloodline, I did my full DNA sequencing. I can trace my specific bloodline back 17,000 years based off today's technology, right? So you go, well, how is that really that unbelievable?
It's like they're coming back like, oh, these losers are still around.
Right. So what if the most advanced of our society left? They made this prediction and the rest didn't. Yeah. And the ones that survived are what we came from. You're like, well, that would make there'd be some record of it. No.
Maybe that's why we're so
Well, not
stubborn.
if they were like a coastal, if it was a coastal civilization or something, and that could be buried under the earth.
I could take my kids right now, today, and I've got a 6, 9, and 11-year-old, and I could change their perception of everything. I could put them in a vacuum of sorts and raise them the way that I wanted to raise them, and they would believe whatever the hell I told them. Yes. And if no one's around to correct it, they would tell their children, and they would tell their children.
That's the basis of religion.
Right. How do we... Yeah. Exactly. But how do we... If the people that stayed didn't like the truth that was being told by the opposing people that left, they would tell their own truth.
Right.
And how long, if everything gets wiped out and there's no evidence of any type of advanced society, you might look at those former people that had those powers as gods, right? They had these abilities, right? So like you start to think, the aliens. But I mean, you start to think about it. It's like, I mean, it's hypothetically possible.
When you say something like maybe don't need a planet, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's very likely that in the future, as we expand off the planet, we'll develop basically space stations that are just enormous communities of people. And they'll have gravity, and they'll or simulated gravity and stuff like that. So that people will live on these stations for their whole lifetime, lifetimes, generational.
Basically, manufactured planets.
Yeah. I mean, sort of.
The Death Star. That is no moon.
But I think, when that happens, though, we'll already not be human anymore. Anyway, I think we'll already be able to move our consciousness into different spaces, and
that's really the future of all of it.
Okay.
Right?
Probably. I got to ask you a question. This has been bothering me now. Now that we keep hearing this consciousness thing. If this is gonna be interesting. Let's say my consciousness. Can your consciousness have a sex? Your physical body has a sex, right? Based on chromosomes.
I mean, I guess you could be masculine or feminine.
Yeah,
or what if something or non-binary?
What if I want to port my consciousness into a different sex? What does that mean? How do we track? Because we got to have some way to debate this in the future. So
it would just be you in a different body. So I think you could. I think in the future, once we have the ability to probably merge with AI and
no need to procreate.
No, I mean we'll just make bodies, and we'll
so no fun.
We'll probably.
I'm still gonna be procreating. I'm just saying.
Well, probably. I mean, it's hard to say because we won't be the same thing, So our needs and desires will be totally different.
A really fascinating question when you get to the AI, because I have a similar opinion.
The question is, though, everybody should be asking themselves is, if you think you know the future, what do you do today to make sure you're one of the people that profit or that survive or thrive in the future?
I think at that level, it doesn't matter. I think in the near future it matters. I think we're thinking about those things now. But I think there's going to be we're going to hit a point in the singularity where the stuff changes so rapidly, nobody can predict anything, and nobody can control it either. It's like we're clicking up the hill on the roller coaster right now. It's just click, and then you know what's coming. But once you
what's
hit
coming is the singularity.
Once you hit that peak, though, we're off.
So if the singularity the goal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I don't know that it's.
So no more individuality, no more. And this
I don't know. Like,
I get to the same. The question you have is similar to the question I have. I'm not so worried about fucking and stuff like that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mine is more creativity and art, right? And it's like, what's the use? Do we need it? We won't need it. We'll eliminate it.
I don't think so.
Do you have to participate in that though? That's the question. So like,
right.
So, I think you look far enough in your history and you figure out bad things about your lineage, because we're all on some level products of most likely some really terrible people.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, what they were doing was status quo.
Sinister
not most
behavior.
likely we are for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like my family, my lineage, they're Nordic and Viking and this and that, and they're part of a 300-year war. We've got a coat of arms was awarded by the King of England. We've got all these different areas, and I realized, I didn't know this until after this, but a good portion of my family helped establish Fiji. Now, what does that really mean?
Right.
It means that they went to Fiji and took it from
Conquered
the people
Fiji.
and conquered Fiji.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that means.
Yeah.
But the point, though, is if you look at Fiji now, and Tony Robbins actually talks about this. That's where he basically owns the island almost. But if
He's
you
almost conquered Fiji.
yeah, he's almost taking it from my family. But but if you look at Fiji, and he talks and he says, the people of Fiji are the happiest people who ever meet. And he said that he kept trying to do things for them, and they're like, we don't need your things. Like they're happy people, right? They didn't need. So he tried to reward them with money and all these things that work in a Western culture that they didn't want, right? And people would come visit, and they'd come visit, and they'd try to give all these things, right? And the people of Fiji would say, well, what is your plan? Well, like, I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to retire someone like this. And they would say something like, this is Tony Robbins' word. The people would say something like, "You're here now. Enjoy it now for free. It's here."
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I guess what I'm getting at is that
you opt out?
You've got a culture of people that have chosen to live this lifestyle, not be part of the system for hundreds of years already. Mm-hmm. Like, there are going to be people that don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is
how long does that last, though?
I think they live out their lives. I think those people
maybe it's already
maybe
it's already happened, and we're a product of those people that chose not to participate in the system. And the technology we're seeing is those people.
But if life can be extended, and health can be improved, so that illness goes the way of the past, and there is no death.
So I think, and a lot of experts think this too. A lot of philosophers and stuff, they believe that, and I believe this. I think that you won't have to make these changes. It'll be difficult for a lot of people to merge with AI and have brain-computer interfaces and stuff, especially people that are older, and like our generation. It'll be a lot of people would probably opt out of it. But even if you opt out of it, you're still going to have access to medical technology you can't even comprehend now. Like, you may end up still living hundreds of years as just a normal human, but once these AIs do become sentient, whether they are now or they're not, Ray Kurzweil, these futurist geniuses believe that by 2030 for sure they'll be sentient, and they'll be artificial general intelligence. They can do every single thing we can do better than we can do it, exponentially better. And once we start merging with those things, the people that do merge with that super intelligence will not be human anymore. It'll be it'll be a new level of humanity, and you still may be an individual, but you'll also be connected to the hive mind, and so you.
Isn't that an opposing position? To be an individual but connected to a hive mind? Not
really. I think you eliminate corruption and stuff like that through doing that, because you no longer put your needs before other people.
Can I pick like the Democratic hive mind or the Republican hive mind or the independent? You think we can have like hive minds that are?
I think all that shit goes away.
Yeah, you wouldn't need it.
That won't exist.
And that is
what if
exactly
I want
my
it to
point.
Be, though? What if I'm the evil person and I want to take over?
How do you take advantage?
Yeah, what if I'm that guy? And
you
can't.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I don't know, but is there a good side of the Matrix that's also fighting the bad side of the Matrix?
I think we're in the Matrix now.
That's what I'm saying.
I think the Matrix is the construct that we live in. We're told our whole life that we're free, but really we're not. We're
I agree
still
with that.
very controlled, and I think that's the Matrix. I think the Matrix is controlled by these mindless corporations and a few very powerful oligarchs in our society that aren't restrained to a specific country or region. They kind of encapsulate the whole globe with their power. Like they have levels of power we can't even comprehend. And so I think this eliminates that, because it eliminates that that human desire to, or that human. We have this thing about us as humans. We're always living as if there's always scarcity, and so we're always in competition for resources, and you don't want to let things go, and we all feel it. You know, like you don't want to let go of your resources because you're afraid there may not be any more.
And then by doing that, you're limiting resources for other people.
Yes.
So then that fear
But
becomes
then,
real. So it's
but then when you're connected to other
self-fulfilling
people,
prophecy.
when you're completely connected to someone else, you realize, oh, we're the same thing.
Right.
If you're hungry, I should feed you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you
If
need,
I feed you, I'm feeding myself.
right. If you need clothing, make sure you have clothes, housing. You know, these things, these basic needs. But I think, you know, the early phases of this transition will be more like everybody's just very intelligent, so people don't get left behind, and we all become more productive in society. Like everybody, and the art question is really interesting too with AI.
What was that thought you just had?
He just said that when we're all very intelligent, people don't get left behind. But I'm going to make a comment.
Well, there are some,
I'm gonna
some
make
lazy smart people, but yeah.
I didn't even say that. Sometimes, I'm not calling myself intelligent to be an asshole, but sometimes it's very frustrating for an intelligent person to have a conversation with a non-intelligent person, or to be around non-intelligent people.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like
yeah.
Neanderthal people, like not as a. I'm talking about like as a IQ
Mindset.
level.
Well, 51 million people in the U.S. have IQs below 85. They're
Yeah,
not fun to talk to.
Well,
I run into
so they're
going to
be in my world. In my world, they get left behind because I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort in. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to do some type of humanitarian good for them, but I'm not going to directly be involved in their lives. So they're going to get left behind. And the smarter I get, the more that gap.
But those people won't exist anymore. That's my point.
It's true,
once,
'cause we're going to wipe them out.
well, no, they'll just once those people
Thanos.
well, that's the scary idea behind an AI that's an AGI that's not sentient,
Yeah,
but it's controlled by a maniac.
agreed.
That could
It
destroy
is
everything.
funny that
or enslave us all.
if we think about Thanos, not to get nerdy, but if
He
we
kind
think
of looks like me if we want to be technical. The jaw, the
make
side,
Daniel
yeah.
Thanos.
I'm Thanos.
So,
Little bit,
but you talk about